Hello and welcome. You're watching a very special show on Bharat Shakti, and we are going to talk about Modi's visit to the United States. You're all aware that this is being hailed as a landmark visit. It's being hailed as a huge leap forward in India-US ties. Our editor-in-chief, Nitin Gokhale, was also in Washington on the sidelines of this visit. We're going to talk to him about his experiences, his engagements in the country, and what he thought of the entire event. Nitin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
So, of course, this is huge what has happened. The numerous deals that have been signed in various... We'll talk about the deals later, but do you think this visit and Modi's, Prime Minister Modi's engagement with the businesses, with the government of US, do you think this has boosted the confidence in businesses, both in India as well as the United States?
Oh, well, certainly the business houses would look at this event or this visit and the outcomes that have been declared by both the countries as forward-looking, as historic, and an opportunity to seize, given that there is a vast array of result-oriented policies or decisions that have been declared in that joint statement by the United States and India. I, in fact, think that this visit, to put it in context, for those who know history, when President Richard Nixon and his National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger went to China in 1972 and opened the world to China, or allowed China to integrate with the rest of the world.
Yes.
Exactly 52 years ago. That was a seminal moment for China. I think this is a seminal moment for India because this allows Indian businesses, Indian diaspora, Indian academics, other institutions, people, Indian citizens to access all that is beneficial for India from the American system. That's why this is a very significant moment in India-US relations.
I asked you about business specifically because you were a part of a roundtable organized by the USIBC, the United States India Business Council. There were several other meetings that you attended, several other think tank interactions that you had. So what is your feeling? What is the outcome, that's going on in the minds of all these people regarding the way forward?
So the USIBC organized event was called IndusX, India-US X, that is for what is the X factor going forward. And the X factor is that if innovators, startups, small businesses from both sides can come together on a bridge provided by these associations like the USIBC on the American side, and the CII, the Confederation of Indian Industries, and the SIDM, the Society for Indian Defense Manufacturers, if they can come together, and if these innovators on either side can actually be part of larger projects in the respective defense systems or each other's defense systems, then that gives a boost which is unprecedented in terms of businesses. There are, of course, the older businesses in the trade and commerce and otherwise. But this USIBC roundtable was particularly interesting because it sets the roadmap for the small and medium enterprises in the defense sector, and also the startups and innovators in defense who are researching and coming up with cutting-edge technology for the use of the armed forces on either side. That's the one that I primarily went to attend.
Right.
And then, of course, I was meeting other people in some think tanks and
yes,
a couple of other academics that I met. And I, of course, attended one or two of those functions that the Prime Minister was addressing. So overall, my sense was that this is the moment to seize for India, primarily because US is more open than ever before to do business with India, to bring India on board to become a force to reckon with in technology, in defense, in future technology, and also as a trusted partner in the international arena in terms of geopolitical contestation that is happening between the US and China. And the US very much wants India to be on its side. And India, of course, will try and retain its autonomy as far as possible, but will do business with US, which benefits India.
For its own
And
interest.
of course, yes, for his own interest. So this was a visit which marked a very significant shift in India's approach to the United States. The suspicions, of course, remain about each other's deep states, all that. But I would think that India has shed some of the hesitations of the past, as the Prime Minister had said some years ago, truly shed those inhibitions, and is willing to join hands with the US for the larger benefit of the country and the people.
We'll talk about the practical aspects of that. But before that, if I could just go into something slightly specific. You met Dr. Vivek Lal, of the chief executive of GA, General Atomics. And of course, GA is being talked about because of the MQ-9B deal. Could you tell us a little bit about the deal? And could you tell us, can you dwell on the technology transfer aspect of this deal?
So in the GA deal, General Atomics Global Corporation, of which Dr. Vivek Lal is a chief executive,
Yes.
is the cutting edge company, the company that has cutting edge technology on the what is called the HALE, that is high altitude, long endurance UAVs, which are used for ISR, that is intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and also can be armed. There are various versions of it.
Right.
In fact, its a more colloquial name is Predator, and that Predator is actually the drones that killed many insurgents and many innocents, if I may add, under the Obama administration in Afghanistan and in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And that was the same drone that took out a controversial Iranian general, General Soleimani. So very effective kind of a weapon that is there. And India has been eyeing this weapon primarily for ISR more than for a kinetic kill for its armed forces. And finally, the Ministry of Defense agreed to procure some 31 of them from General Atomics. And that technology is controlled fully by the US government. Okay. And that is why it is important that the importance of all this lies in the fact that the US government has agreed to give this technology to India. And MQ-9B, the latest version of all this, of the what they call the Sky Guardian or the Sea Guardian Predator UAV, is available only to the Americans so far.
Right.
India will only be the second country which will get this. Of course, it's a long way to go. There is a contract has to be negotiated, a price has to be finalized, the nitty-gritty of it is to be finalized. But to come to the technology transfer part of it, there is not much technology that will be transferred, because after all, it's IP protected, and the government of US will not give this high-end technology. What it is, however, doing is it has agreed, General Atomics has agreed to assemble the weapon or the platform in India with a local partner. It has also agreed to open a MRO center, maintenance, repair, overall center in India for the HALE, and also make some subcomponents like the landing gear, maybe even the integral missile that will come with it for the armed version of it will be done eventually after a partner is chosen. All that will happen over a period of time. First, the contract will have to be negotiated, price will have to be fixed, and then look at the timelines. So there could be there is a possibility that in the first phase only 15 will be procured, 15 HALEs, and then another 16 later going forward. So we still don't know what exactly the price will be, because the more the numbers, the less the price. And so all that is a matter of detail. We'll see what happens, but it certainly is again a significant moment, and it is taking the India-US defense partnership to a higher level.
Absolutely, this is very big, and you managed to get an interview of Dr. Lal also.
That's right.
So that was great. This is of course a very big thing. We've had so many deals, in terms of visa, in terms of the rare earth minerals, of course, defense, digital defense. So now, if you talk of the next steps, in fact, you were just talking about it now as far as the MQ-9B is concerned. But how do you visualize the role of the bureaucracy now? How do you visualize the role of the business community in what's coming next? And did your interactions with these think tanks, USIBC, were there any specific recommendations in that regard?
Yes, in fact, recommendations came from both sides. So,
Right.
GA deal is, or the proposed GA deal is only one part of it. The other exciting decision was to get the jet engine technology from the United States, specifically from General Electric, which manufactures the F414 jet engines.
Yeah.
From GE, which for jet engines. And India has decided to buy those in collaboration and in manufacturing in India. Those engines in collaboration between GE and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Now, why is it exciting? It's exciting because LCA Mark II, the Light Combat Aircraft Tejas Mark II, will have this engine, which has a engine thrust of more than 125 kilonewtons, which is supposed to be one of the better ones, because the Kaveri engine produced by India has managed to go up to about 75 kilonewtons. So it is one of the best engines available.
Right.
And generally, these jet engine technologies are not parted with any other country. Although, I must make it clear, if anybody has a doubt, that this is only going to be a transfer of technology as far as manufacturing is concerned.
Okay.
80% of it will be transferred to HAL, and they can continue to manufacturing it in India in joint collaboration with GE. The full technology transfer is not happening. Nobody should have any doubts about it.
Okay.
Because no country, and jet engine is a very high-end technology, and no country parts with it. There might come a time in the future, one doesn't know.
Yeah, because R&D itself is a huge cost.
It's a huge cost. Yeah. And also, then once you give it, then you have no leverage, you have no market to capture again and again.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to happen in a hurry. But it's a start. It's a big start, because even this was not allowed or not even contemplated by the US in the earlier years.
Yes, yeah.
So that's a breakthrough moment again.
Right.
So how will it help the Indian ecosystem is what you asked.
And what role the bureaucracy has to play.
So the bureaucracy has to, first of all, make sure that this is implemented. These two decisions are implemented quickly. And under Indus-X, which I was talked about a little earlier, again, couple of projects have to be taken to final logical conclusion. There should be success stories which can be cited immediately. Otherwise, I'm afraid, and which I said this in the roundtable also, that if early success stories are not achieved or are not reached, then the fate of Indus-X will also be like the DTTI. DTTI was launched exactly a decade ago. It was the Defense Technology and Trade Initiative, and under which there was supposed to be joint collaboration, joint production, all that. Not a single project has been realized under that initiative taken by Manohar Parrikar, and not 2012, I must correct myself, 2016 onwards. And Ash Carter, Defense Secretary Ash Carter, that hasn't gone anywhere. So to avoid those mistakes, this one has to actually deliver quickly, and the bureaucrats have to play a bigger part. They have to make sure that permissions are given quickly, the licensing, if any, security clearances on both sides have to come in double quick time. All that has to happen. And therefore, it is essential that the bureaucracy also plays its part and plays with enthusiasm and not reluctance.
So how optimistic are you about that?
I think it is top-driven right now, because both the leaders, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi, want this done. And I know of the GE engine proposal, which has moved so fast that from conceptualization in January, it has now come to a stage where you've signed an MOU between GE and HAL. Then both the leaders have state their personal interest in this.
Right.
So while there was a reluctance in State Department, there was reluctance in some of the Defense Department officials. I think President Biden's White House sending a message to these two has helped, and I think he is personally invested in it. So I'm hopeful that before the end of the year, 2023, things will move much faster, because after that, both the countries get into the election cycle.
Yes.
So the window is limited, the opportunity window is limited. And both
They have to
sides
seize it.
They have to seize it, and that's why I say this is the moment that has to be
Absolutely.
capitalized on.
Right. My last question to you. You were there for nearly a week.
Yes.
Did you get a chance to meet the diaspora? And do you see an increased sense and pride at everything that's going on? You know, the red carpet being rolled out for Prime Minister Modi, and, you know, this joint Congress.
Modi has always been a rock star as far as diaspora is concerned, right?
Yes.
From the first time that he did this in Madison Square in 2014.
Yeah.
But this time, there was talking to some of the participants. I attended one of the events. He had several, 2 or 3 at least.
Yeah.
And the enthusiasm was infectious. They also know this moment has arrived as far as Indians are concerned, because statistics were reeled out that how nearly 70% of medical doctors in the US are Indian origin. Maybe second generation, maybe first generation, how IT professionals are increasingly dominate Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And it's shown, it is evident in the kind of number of CEOs who head all these technology companies, from Facebook to Google to Alphabet to, Alphabet is of course Google. Then you have, you name any of these companies, they're all there. Indians are heading it. And Indians contribute nearly 4% of the GDP in the US, despite being just 1% of the population.
Right.
That some statistics was also dished out. So all in all, I think lots of enthusiasm, and Mr. Modi inspires that kind of, I would say, awe and also confidence amongst Indian origin people there. And there are... I found a lot of Americans, both white and black Americans, supporting him or hailing him as a leader of consequence, and that the future between India and US is very bright, and they must capitalize on it, was the sentiment. So I think, I don't want to call it historic, but like I said, this is India's movement, which must be now seized. Capitalized on by both sides.
Right.
And I think the diaspora will actually contribute to it, because they are also interested in seeing and continuing to have that kind of prestige in their country that they have chosen to stay in, but still have ties with India, and therefore that kind of sentiment.
Thank you so much, Nitin, for speaking to us. Like Nitin just said, definitely a landmark visit. A visit could be a watershed moment for the two countries, and something that India and the bureaucracies of both the countries need to understand, the huge opportunity, and need to seize it and really make things happen before both the countries get into election mode. So thank you so much again for talking to us. And please write in to us with your comments, your feedback, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.